Hi, everyone. So, this is video 16. In this video, I am going to be talking about my beliefs when it comes to co-parenting and the well-being of your children in the face of divorce or really any other of life's difficult situations. And then I'm going to go on to talk about the irony of why I have those beliefs that stem from my own childhood. And then in the end, am going to bring it all together and talk about how those beliefs that I still have and I still believe completely backfired on me due to the individuals that I was dealing with. So let's just hop right into it. So my little piece that I have to say about co-parenting, I don't think it's going to be very long because it's incredibly simple. It's incredibly simple. Your child comes first. The well-being of your child comes first, emotionally, psychologically, in every way. Once you have a child, you are no longer the main priority, as you are an adult and you chose to create that child, that life. You are entrusted with something so beautiful and so precious. And it is your duty now as a parent to make sure that you are providing safety, emotional, psychological, every kind of safety for your child. That's what you do. When it comes to co-parenting, well, when it comes to the end of a relationship or a marriage that children are involved, your qualms with your ex are not your child's problem. It is never okay to force a child, a still developing brain, to cope with adult problems that they had nothing to do with, they aren't responsible for, and they can't understand because they're still children. I've always thought this, and I don't know that it needs to really go any more than that. It's so simple. It's so easy. You do what makes your child healthy and happy. You do what makes your child feel safe. You don't steal their family members from them because you have a problem with those family members having nothing to do with the child. That is abuse. It's manipulation. And it's disgusting. It's quite literally disgusting. To put your problems onto your child is insane. It is absolutely unhinged. And it's not just unnecessary. It's malicious and disgusting. And it says a lot about how much you actually value that child as a human being. For example, when Travis and I separated a long time ago, and Deacon was just a baby, there was never a time, and after Josh and I separated too, there was never a time that either of my children ever heard anything nasty about their fathers come out of my mouth, ever. And I don't know now, which, like I said, I'll talk about a little bit more in the end, how that ended up as I think about the situation that we're all in right now. I believe that when you separate or divorce with your child's parents, you need to do everything in your power to put aside whatever resentments, whatever weird relationship resentments you have towards that individual for the well-being of your child. Your child didn't do anything wrong. My children haven't done anything wrong. And the fact that they are forced to deal with all of this grown-up stuff is absolutely insane and heartbreaking for me. The fact that they are forced to deal with all this grown-up stuff, knowing myself that I can't be there because nobody's allowing me anywhere near my children. For 2 years, I have gotten 0 time with them, and I haven't heard their voices for 2 years. 2 years is too long. And it was based on, and all of the court stuff was based on lies. We've already gone over quite a bit of that in the other video. We haven't gone over all of it because it would take forever. I already have like 8 hours of footage, and there's still so much that I could say. So I don't know. And I've always thought that, to the point to where Travis, who was my first and I guess current husband now, from Josh's weird annulment that he pushed through, and Jenna Naderman, and that's another video. Go back and you'll see. When him and I separated, I wasn't ever nasty to any of his new girlfriends, to the point where, well, one, I wouldn't be, because that's not really how I operate, but there was a child involved. And with Deacon, with any child, if the parents aren't good together, I don't think that makes either of those individuals bad people. It just means they were bad together. They brought out the worst in each other, blah, blah, blah. There's a million reasons why relationships don't work out. Your child is not in a romantic relationship with their parent. Your child needs their other parent. And I could sit up here and pull up a million articles written by doctors, researchers, psychological professionals, that tells you, and it breaks it all down, why your child needs both parents in their life. I could sit here and do that, but that seems unnecessary because it's common fucking sense. There's nowhere else to put it. Yes, your child needs both their parents. Yes, they do. And the reason that belief and that ideology is so ingrained in me goes back to my childhood, when my parents divorced. I was 6 years old when my parents divorced. Jennifer, at the time, as a lot of people who are leaving a marriage, she didn't have anything. She didn't, I mean, her own mother didn't even live anywhere around here at the time. I think she's still living in California, actually. And she left that marriage with my father with very little. She still got spousal support. She still got child support, which I don't get spousal support from Josh, even though we were married for 10 years. And I'm disabled because he decided, with Jennifer's help and Chris's help and everyone else's help, to find a nasty, corrupt lawyer to annul our marriage. So he would have zero responsibilities with me whatsoever, ever. And I wonder, it makes me now look back, and I wonder if he thought that meant that I was going to disappear, that meant I was dead. And I am no longer, any kind of important part of his or his children's lives, even though I'm their mother. Like, it doesn't make any sense. A lot of this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me how for 2 years majority of my text messages to Josh went unanswered, where I have screenshots where you see me for weeks saying, hey, when can we get together and talk about Mona? Hey, when can we get together and talk about Mona? Hey, when can we get together and talk about Mona? With 0 replies in between. He didn't reply until later, months later. And it's confusing because it's like, what did he think was going to happen? Like, he thought if he just didn't acknowledge my existence at all, that I would just go away and make more kids. I don't know what he thought. It's crazy that he thought that just by not answering my text, by just ignoring me after being so abusive towards me for so many years, that I would just disappear. It's insane. 2 years. But anyways, the reason that I feel that way so strongly is because when my parents divorced, I remember vividly that I was not put in the middle of any of that. My dad, rest his heart. He should be up in heaven resting peacefully, but something tells me that if the afterlife is real, he's not resting peacefully at all. He's probably very angry because he's seen even more than what I have in their direction. And he totally would see everything. So they never brought me into it at all. And my dad would even, if anyone ever tried to say anything nasty about my mom and I was present, he would get very frustrated, angry, and just tell them to stop talking, just shut up. It doesn't need to be talked about right now. My dad was very, very good about that. And I feel like now I've given Jennifer a lot of credit my whole life for being so good then at co-parenting, because I thought she was doing that because she loved me and cared about her daughter and wanted and would never steal one of her daughter's parents from her. That's a horrible thing to do to a child or anyone. And I always respected her for that. And I have said over and over again throughout my life, my parents never did that. I'm not going to do that to my children. These problems that these people have with me, or any problems I have with them, those are not my kids' problems. They should never be. Your kids should be thinking about school and friends and learning who they are as people. You should be their safe place. You shouldn't be a source of toxicity for them. Neither should any of your past or your drama with other people, even if those people are family members of your children. Once again, I feel like this is all very much common sense, but maybe it isn't. From what I've seen over this whole thing, maybe it isn't common sense. It should be, I would think. I always gave Jennifer a lot of credit for being so strong during her divorce with my father when I was a very, very young child. And I thought that she did that because she cared about me and she was a good mom and a respectable woman. I don't think that anymore because it's so ironic, the part that she has played, the huge part that she has played in allowing something to happen to my children that she swore up and down when I was younger she would never allow happen to me. Which makes me think back and think, well, I wonder if she would have had more money, more resources, because my dad had a stable job throughout my whole life. He worked for Virginia Power my whole life, retired with Virginia Power. He always had his shit together, pretty much, especially financially, monetarily. We had a big family before they all unfortunately passed away for different reasons. And I always gave her so much credit, and now that I've seen what she's done to my children and to me years later, when she was the more financially independent individual, makes me lose all of that respect for her. She probably would have tried to get full custody of me and take me from my father when I was younger if she thought she could have. She wouldn't have been able to, because she didn't have a bucket to piss in when I was younger. And now I'm seeing what she's done, and I'm realizing that was why. In all honesty, if they had gone to court, he would have gotten full custody. But he would have never allowed that to happen to me. They split me up evenly when I was a child. I spent half the week with my dad and half the week with my mom. It was very evenly divided. Everything was. And I thought that was because she was a good mom. But now that she has done something this horrible, as far as separating me and my children, playing such a huge hand in this manipulation, brainwashing of my children and everyone else, I don't feel that way about her anymore. I feel like she did that out of circumstance because it was her only option. That wasn't because she was a good mom who cared about the well-being and emotional, psychological fitness of her child. That was because she didn't have that option. And it makes me see her so differently. So much respect is gone, and it's replaced with disgust because of her actions now. And it's insane, the irony of the fact that I feel this way about both parents being a huge part of your child's life because of my childhood and the people involved. And one of the main people involved is the person who is very much responsible for separating me from my children. It's very confusing, and it's a hard truth to swallow that she was not the person that I always thought she was, right up until just a few years ago. I could never imagine Jennifer playing any part in me not seeing my children ever before this, ever. If you would have told me that that was going to happen, I would have told you to go ahead and replace your shoes with bags because you're a freaking lunatic. Like, I would have never thought. And I was wrong. She did that. I mean, it wasn't just her. It was a culmination of her, Chris's lies, Josh's greed and spite also, and a whole bunch of corrupt lawyers and a corrupt doctor and very corrupt CPS who don't need to have that job. Child protection services should be called child abduction services, in my opinion. They didn't do anything to protect my children. Jonathan Brown, you put my children with their abusers. You had a huge hand in that, and that's where they still are. And I have not seen them or heard their voices in 2 years, while they are systematically being manipulated against me. And I have evidence of this. I have proof of this, and it's something that we're going to talk about in one of the upcoming videos. I don't know if it's going to be the next one or the video after that, but we're going to do a long video about grooming, child manipulation, abuse, psychological abuse. We're going to talk about the effects that has on children, even well into adulthood. So I mean, I want to say it's a slap in the face, but that's such a huge understatement. I mean, my idea of who my mother is as a human being and as a parent is completely rocked now. It's completely different than anything that I ever thought before. I would never think she could do this. I would never think. Not the woman who raised me, which is another reason why I refer to her as Jennifer now instead of Mom. Because I feel like I had a pretty decent childhood. Maybe on paper it doesn't look great, but I always felt safe and loved and secure. And a part of that safeness and security that I felt was because my parents did not involve me in their weird drama and bullshit. They didn't do it. And I used to give my mom credit for that, but she doesn't deserve it. She doesn't deserve any credit for that. Because now looking back, it's very clear to me that the reason that she didn't do that and tear me away from my father was because of the circumstances that she was in herself. No court would have given her full custody and taken me away from my dad when he is an amazing citizen. He was financially sound. I mean, it wouldn't have happened. So that changes things, and it's very ironic, and it's weird, and it's conflicting. And it's taken months or longer to really come to that realization. And it's hurtful. It's hurtful. It feels like the person who raised me is no longer with us, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't feel like I have a mother at all. Even though the person I was born to, her heart is still very much beating. It's a clusterfuck. It's crazy. I never brought my kids into any of this. I never told them about how abusive their dads were to me, because that wasn't my children's problem. It should have never been my children's problem, ever. And I hid from my babies a lot of the messed up stuff that they did to me. A lot of it. Well, all of it, actually. And I still believe that that was the right thing to do. I don't believe that pouring your trauma onto your children is in any way being a good parent. Your job is to protect them, protect their hearts. And I never thought that any of this would ever come to this. This is unfathomable to me still, even though it's happening, which is weird and confusing to think that these people, I mean, I knew they weren't great people towards me, but I never thought they would go this far to involve my children. I never thought. It's still hard for me to believe. It's one of those things that's very unimaginable until it's not unimaginable anymore, because it actually happened. And it's conflicting. It's heartbreaking. So I never told my babies anything. And now, and like I said, I still think that was the right thing to do. Grown-up problems should be dealt with by grown-ups. A child's brain does not have the capacity to even begin to conceive or understand the complex dynamics between adult relationships. And they shouldn't have to. That's not their kids. Let your kids be kids. Let them have their parents and let them form their own opinion when they get older, you know. So I never brought any of this up. And while, yes, I do think that was right, it has created, what it did was create a even more dangerous environment for them, for my children, because they had no warning. They think that the people who they're with now are amazing people because of what they're being shown. And I've never told them otherwise. And hearing how these people talk about me, you can understand is going to be very conflicting in their brains, because they don't know the truth about the people that are talking to them. I never told them, and they certainly didn't tell them. I can guarantee you that Chris, Jennifer, Josh, Lisa, or any one of them has never come out and been like, you know, I'm lying about a whole bunch of stuff about your mom, right? Never. So I'll always wonder, until I die, when I'm old and gray, if I had given them some warning about the character of these individuals and what was going on behind the scenes without my children's knowledge, would they have been less blindsided? Because I have talked their family up to them, because I'm not going to steal their family members from them. I would never do that. When I was little, I had my dad's side family was pretty, it wasn't huge, but we were very close, and I'm so grateful for the family who raised me. My dad, my grandma, my grandpa, my aunt. And I think about them all the time. They're all passed. I talk to them still. And hope that they can still hear me. I think that they can. I don't have a lot of very strong religious beliefs, but I'm just so grateful that I had them. And I would never take any part of something that is so important to me from my children and their childhoods. Like, you don't do that. A child's parents are their most valuable, precious asset to that child. And regardless of how you feel about them and how they've treated you, you don't steal the most valuable, precious asset your child has from them. That makes you a horrible parent, right? But then also, it's conflicting because now, after 2 years that these people have kept my children from me and filled their head with a whole bunch of craziness, and I'm going to talk, like I said, I'll talk about that a little bit more in the upcoming video about pediatric manipulation, brainwashing, etc., and parental alienation, which is incredibly abusive. There's no other word for parental alienation other than abusive. There is no other word for it. Maybe disgusting also. You know what? There's a lot of negative words for it. But abuse is the main one. And I'll always apologize to my children once we're reunited, and for the rest of their lives, well, at least for the rest of mine, for maybe not being a little bit more honest with them about what these people were doing to me. I don't know. It comes down to, like, it's such a paradox, right? Because you want your children to be informed. It's your job to make sure they're safe. But then it comes down to, okay, well, I want them to be safe, happy, and healthy. I don't ever want them to have to deal with my traumas. That's not what a child should have to do. They're children. You're supposed to love them and protect them. It's a paradox because I still feel in my heart that it is absolutely the right thing to not speak any negativity or toxicity about your child's parent to them. But I also feel like if I had been a lot more honest, especially with Mona, maybe it wouldn't have been so easy for them to brainwash her the way that they have. But I don't know. That's one of those things that, we don't know. We're never going to know. If this had happened, maybe this would have happened. We won't know. So it's like you want to love your children, protect your children from everything that could ever hurt them. And in my brain, I thought that these people felt the same way about my children. I thought Josh felt the same way about Ramona. I thought Chris, Jennifer, and Lisa felt the same way about their grandkids. But that wasn't what happened. And the other thing, I'm going to wrap this up soon, but the other thing that I wanted to kind of talk about to prove how deeply this is ingrained in me, I want to talk about a photo that was taken when Mona was probably between 2 and 3. Travis had a girlfriend then that he had been dating for years. He was dating her even when I was pregnant with Mona. And I was always very welcoming to all of his girlfriends. Because that's just kind of how I am anyways. And I don't feel like the end of a relationship means you have to erase that person completely. It just didn't work out romantically. It's fine. And people thought it was so weird that I set up a family photo at the Picture People when Mona was about 2. And it was me, Josh, Deacon and Ramona, and Travis, and his girlfriend at the time. And I actually reached out to her last week because they're not dating anymore from what I understand. She's moved on, and I hope that she has like the most amazing life that she absolutely deserves because she's an amazing person. I have nothing nasty to say about this person at all. Not even close. Just a beautiful human being. She was always so kind to me, and just one of those people who's just salt of the earth type of people. But I reached out to her because I told her I was going to be talking about this picture that we all took together. It was a family picture. And we had all different settings. We had one of all of us together. I made sure there was a couple of just her, Travis, and Deacon, so that Deacon could have a picture of her and him and his dad. She was a really big part of our lives and the best influence on Travis, in my opinion. I think they were great. The best influence on Travis. And then of course, we did pictures of me, Josh, Mona, and Deacon, our little family, their little family, including Deacon. We did pictures of just the adults. We did pictures of just the kids. We did all the pictures. And that family picture of all of us together hung in my house right up until right around when I moved out, even though Josh had been away for a couple of years by that point, because that picture was very important to me. It was very symbolic of something that I feel to my core, and that is that love for your children should be multiplied. If you can't work out your relationship with your child's mom or dad, that's fine. That's okay. Maybe that's healthy that you don't work that relationship out. Maybe it's a toxic relationship romantically. Like I said, there are a million reasons. But when your ex moves on, I feel like, and starts bringing, other people into the family, you should be as welcoming as possible. That should be exciting for your child, that there's one more person to love them. They should never feel like they're losing anyone ever. If anything, they should feel like they're gaining people. They're getting a bigger family. And that was how I always framed that with Deacon. And Ramona, even after Josh left and had started dating Emily. Your children should feel love from everyone. And they should feel like it's okay that they feel love. That should never be, it's not, children are not the rope that you use in a game of tug of war. No, you're a horrible parent if you do that. If you are using your child as a pawn, which is very much what's happening with my children, they're being used as pawns. You need to reevaluate your parenting skills. Would you like someone stealing one of your parents when you were? Can you imagine? If someone came up to you as a small child or any age child and said, hey, we realize your mom's a really good mom, but I don't like her, so you're not going to see her for 2 years. Can you imagine? Nobody would like. It's a lot. It's a lot. I envisioned our families getting bigger even if we are separating, because that's how it should be. There's no reason for resentment or nastiness. If the relationship is over, there's nothing left to fight about anymore. It's over. It's done. I'm not going to argue with someone who I have zero chance of having makeup sex with. That's not going to happen. But I always thought you need to make your child's family bigger. More people to love them, more people to protect them. I know that I learned when I was older that when Jennifer remarried Chris when I was 10, he did not like Chris at all. Not even a little bit. He actually hated Chris. I didn't learn that until I was an adult because my dad never said that in front of me, because he knew that that wasn't healthy for me. My dad's focus was my health, my emotional safety and love and security, and that was where he kept it, on me. He would have, I don't know, he just wouldn't. I mean, I remember back in my childhood instances where if someone did start saying something nasty about my mom, he would be like, no. And he would get rude with them. Like, not rude. I feel like it was very direct. Like, no, you're not going to do this in front of my daughter. This is not her problem. He was very good about not making their problems my problem. And I owe the security that I felt as a child to that man doing that for me. Because for my whole life, I thought that Jennifer played a big part in that also. But now I'm realizing that she didn't. The circumstances just weren't in her favor. If she were to try to go to court against my dad, she would have lost miserably. My dad could have easily taken me from my mother, but he wouldn't, because he loved me. And it's so heartbreaking to think that anyone could do this to my children. I want everyone to love my children as much as my dad loved me. I want what's best for my babies. So that's my, so anyways, the reason I messaged her last week is because I don't even know if I wasn't sure if she had gotten wind of everything that had happened over the last couple years. I mean, she knows all the players. She's met everyone because she was a big part of our lives for a while. But I didn't want to bring her name into this because she has moved on. But I also was like, well, I don't want to bring her name into it if she doesn't want to be into this, because she shouldn't have to be at all. She deserves her own beautiful life to move on. But I was also didn't want her to one day see this and think, well, just Travis's girl. Like, to me, that person is not just another one of Travis's girlfriends. Travis had a lot of girlfriends. She was an integral part in all of our lives for a long time. And I just love her so much. And I absolutely respect her. And I would never want to say or not say anything to make her feel minimized or inconsequential, because she isn't. She's a really great girl. She's a really great girl. Travis dated a couple girls that were really good girls, you know? And I always became friends with them afterwards, while them and Travis were dating, because I'm not staking a claim over any of my exes. Their lives are their lives. All yours. You can have them. You guys, there are 8.1 billion people on this planet right now. Okay? If your relationship doesn't work out with someone, it doesn't mean you got to go to prom alone. You don't have to do that. And sometimes things don't work out, and that's okay. There's nothing shameful about that. So I wanted to talk about my ideas of co-parenting here. And I think it's important because as it's such a drastic contrast in the way they were and the way they are, the people who are keeping my children and brainwashing them to think horrible things. My beliefs and how I saw all of this happening are so different than how everything played out. And that's hard, you know. It's hard. Well, of course it's hard not being away from my kids for so long. Of course that's hard. I used to get upset when Mona would be gone, you know, even for a night, spending the night at one of her grandparents' house. Like, I didn't like that. It wasn't like I didn't like it because of anything that had to do with where she was. It was because I didn't like it because I need my children. Every mom wants to be near her babies all the time. So now 2 years, and sometimes I look back and I don't know how I survived that. I don't know. But this isn't the end. This isn't even close to the end. I have a couple more videos to make before any of this even goes back to court. None of this has gone back to court when it happened. I mean, like, from what happened before. But yeah, your kids come first. That's the main message here. That's my main message of this video. Your children should absolutely always come first. Their happiness should always come first. And if you are putting your own nasty greed and disgusting, weird resentments, and in my case, over stuff that never even happened, over the mental capacity, well-being, and internal climate of your children, you're not being a good parent. This is not good parenting. I will continue to fight for my children. I'll never stop. I'll never stop fighting for them. And it's weird that the people who have my children thought that I would just, I don't know what they thought. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I want to thank everyone again. All of you, like I said, this video is 16. There are 15 prior to this. I'll link, and I put them all on a YouTube channel, not for monetization purposes, just so they can all be in one place, for people who want to watch the whole thing. I'll link that below. I always do. And just thank you guys for kind words, kind messages, even though I don't always get all my messages because I'm still very much in survival mode without my children. Like, emotionally, I'm still, nothing has gotten, I wouldn't say that it's gotten easier to deal with not being a part of my children's life. I don't think it ever will. I think it would be weird if it did get easier. I don't think that's normal. Your children should always be on your mind. My children are always on my mind, all the time, in everything that I do. So, just thank you, everyone, and hopefully I can get these next videos out in a timely manner so that, you know, we can move on to the next step, and I'll explain my ideas for the future too in an upcoming video. But thank you. These are my ideas about co-parenting. Love your kids. It's a confusing line between loving them and wanting to keep all the toxic stuff away from their beautiful little pediatric brains, when that might be putting them at risk for falling victim to those people too. I just never thought that Jennifer, Chris, Josh, Lisa, or any of them would ever be capable of hurting my children the way that they have. I knew that they were very capable of hurting me because I've been dealing with it for many years. I never thought they would bring my babies into, I never thought they would do that. go out and enjoy this beautiful Sunday. And this is my piece on that.